Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson, moderator, and Mr. Vimont, Executive Secretary General of the European External Action Service, for inviting me to speak at this important conference. Today, I'd like to share Korea's activities and contributions to address international crises, as well as the cooperation between Korea and the European Union in this area as an Asian partner. I believe this is a timely subject, especially at a time when Korea's relations with the European Union are reaching new heights across the board. In fact, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Korea-EU relations. And last month, our leaders adopted a joint declaration celebrating the 50-year-old relations after holding a summit meeting here in Brussels. Our leaders also recognized that since our signing strategic partnership in 2010, Korea and the European Union have been strengthening cooperation not only on bilateral issues, but also in promoting international security and prosperity. Going forward, Korea hopes to work more closely with the European Union in the area of security, as well, especially in crisis management. The European Union has been playing a leading role in managing crises around the world through conflict prevention, peacekeeping, and reconstruction efforts under the Common Security and Defense Policy. For the Iranian nuclear issues, Korea greatly values the contributions of European Union, particularly High Representative Lady Ashton, in reaching an agreement on the initial measures through Joint Action Plan to halt Iran's nuclear program, which has the potential to become a serious crisis. We hope that the agreement will be faithfully implemented and that a comprehensive resolution to Iran's nuclear weapons program will be concluded in due time. To this end, we look forward to the European Union, including Lady Ashton's continuous engagement with other E3+3 partners on this issue. The Korean government will also continue to support these efforts, especially the resolutions, since the resolution of the Iranian nuclear problems could have positive impact in dealing with North Korean nuclear issues in our region. As for the Korean-EU cooperation in security, we are strengthening cooperation in the area of crisis management, mainly through EU-led maritime security capacity building mission in the Horn of Africa, called UCAP Nestor, to counter piracy of the Somalia coast. Even before Korea's Navy have been participating actively in fighting against the piracy in the region. Aside from providing financial assistance, the UCAP Nestor and in-kind contributions to Djibouti Regional Training Center, we are also reviewing the possibility of dispatching maritime policy instructors to this mission. Korea also expects to sign the Framework Participation Agreement on Crisis Management Operations between Korea and the European Union by early next year. Upon signing this agreement, Korea will be the first Asian country to have concluded with the European Union 3 major agreements covering politics, economics, and security. That is a framework agreement and free trade agreement, and lastly, an agreement on crisis management. We anticipate this agreement to be the bedrock in further developing our relations into a genuine global partnership. And Korea and European Union are expanding the scope of cooperation to cybersecurity issues. Cyber threats are increasingly posing a serious challenge to international security, and therefore international cooperation is essential to address them. With the strong support of the European Union, Korea successfully held the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace last October, raising global awareness on the urgent need to promote international cooperation in this area. Korea and the European Union will also holding the first consultations on cybersecurity next year. Now, I'd like to briefly touch about Korea's recent efforts to help address international crises. As the international community becomes more interconnected, cooperation with all relevant actors is critical to resolve the complex and transnational global challenges such as nuclear safety, terrorism, natural disaster, and climate change. Korea was also host country of Seoul Nuclear Security Summit last year. Korea has been focusing on the following guidelines to address international crises. First, it is important to mobilize resources and capacities across the globe to effectively prevent and address crises. Second, we should strengthen preventive diplomacy to ensure that crises never happen in the first place. In this regard, it is important to introduce and strengthen early warning mechanisms across the board from disaster management to conflicts. Third, we should be fully prepared to respond to crises by conducting training and strengthening rapid coordination and cooperation with all stakeholders domestically and internationally. And last, it is important to assist developing countries to enhance their capacities to respond to crises. Under President Park Geun-hye's administration, first female president in our region, Korea is committed more than ever to promote global prosperity and accordingly designated global happiness as a major policy objective. This is because, thanks to the international community's assistance, Korea could rise from the ashes of the Korean War to become a full-fledged democratic country and donor country in a span of a generation. And now, having joined the OECD DAC in 2010 as a middle power, Korea is committed to paying back to developing countries in kind. And as a part of such efforts, the Korean government is pursuing preventive diplomacy in Northeast Asia, where tensions has been on the rise, as we know well. More specifically, Korea is pursuing a policy called trust politic to promote reconciliation and cooperation in the region. Trust politic, in turn, is implemented through the Korean Peninsula Trust Building Process and the Northeast Asia Peace and Cooperation Initiative, and it focuses on accumulating habits of dialogue and cooperation, starting with the softer issues such as climate change, natural disaster, and nuclear security. In this regard, we'd like to learn about the valuable experiences of European regional institutions such as the EU and OSCE, formerly CSCE. To address international crises in other regions, we have been participating in UN PKO missions and reconstruction efforts, combating pirates off the coast of Somalia, and increasing humanitarian assistance, to name a few. More specifically, one way Korea has been addressing conflicts around the world is by participating in UN PKOs. Currently, we have 629 personnel working in 8 UN peacekeeping missions, including UNMISS South Sudan and UNIFIL in Lebanon. We have been also actively engaged in post-conflict reconstruction efforts to secure peace and security in countries such as Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, Korea set up a provincial reconstruction team in Parowan province in 2010 and pursued projects in education, agricultural development, and training in Afghan police. We transferred our PRT premises to Afghan authorities in a year's time. Today, we are operating a hospital and a vocational training center while disbursing the $500 million we had committed in 2011. We have also been increasing our humanitarian assistance to countries struck by natural disasters and conflict, such as the Philippines, Mali, and Syria. Most recently, to help Philippines to recover from the devastating typhoon last month, we provide $5 million in humanitarian assistance, $20 million in untied aid, and have dispatched disaster relief teams to carry out our relief and recovery operations. We are also planning to send 500 Army medical and engineering units to help with recovery efforts in this month. Lastly, given that Asia is prone to devastating, large-scale natural disasters, we understand the collective action and rapid coordination by the international community is critical. In this context, Korea co-hosted the third ASEAN Regional Forum Disaster Relief Exercise with Thailand last May. ARF directs represent a paradigm shift in humanitarian assistance from a reactive response to more proactive management of natural disasters in this region. I'd like to further elaborate on this, the exercise at later stage. With this, I'd like to conclude my introductory remarks. Korea has made modest but unique contribution as an Asian strategic partner of the European Union in the international society in dealing with managing complex international crises. Thank you very much.